Ethan Wheatley made his Manchester United senior debut against Sheffield United in April. Wheatley wrote himself into the club's history books by becoming the 250th player from the academy to make a senior bow, but he will want to be remembered for more than that. Wheatley started for the under-19s against AZ Alkmaar in the UEFA Youth League on Tuesday, and his next steps must have crossed his mind as he entered an almost empty Old Trafford. Around 300 supporters braved the cold to attend the game, and Wheatley was the only youngster on the pitch who knows what playing in front of a sold-out Old Trafford feels like. Wheatley will want more of that feeling. Playing at Old Trafford is special regardless, but performing in front of a sell-out crowd is a unique opportunity for academy players, and Wheatley might have to push for a loan in the January transfer window to continue making inroads to the first team. Ruben Amorim wasn't among the United club staff who attended Old Trafford, and a source has admitted he's not had a chance to watch an academy fixture due to his busy schedule. The presence of Amorim would have given Wheatley an added incentive to impress against AZ, but his reputation remains high among academy coaches following a promising 2024. Wheatley also didn't have too much to feed off against AZ. The Dutch side flew out of the traps and created two great chances within the first few minutes, but the game settled into a steady rhythm, and United's best chance of the first 45 minutes fell to the head of Amir Ibrahimov. For context, Ibrahimov has heart in abundance, but was the smallest player in a red shirt. His header was tame, and it might have been a different story if Wheatley had connected. United's coaches felt Wheatley massively improved last season and really stepped up in quality, which made a debut possible, and staff were also happy with how he adapted to playing across multiple teams, U18S, Under-21S and First Team, and multiple different competitions. Wheatley grew into his body after what a source described as diligent work in the gym, with strength and conditioning coaches, and Travis Binion said he had the perfect number 9 frame. AZ are renowned for developing players in the Netherlands, and their U19s are a physical side. Their players look to have a height advantage, but Wheatley was the anomaly for United. Wheatley has physically matured, but there are still aspects he needs to improve, which is the case for any youngster, and that was highlighted in the second half when he powerfully burst toward the Stretford end and lost the ball when he could have beaten his man and produced a shot. United were still searching for a breakthrough at that stage, and the game was goalless. United goalkeeper William Murdoch had made 2 superb saves at the beginning of the match to deny AZ from taking an early lead, and neither side looked capable of producing a decisive moment. Wheatley was working off scraps and looked frustrated when the hour mark arrived. He will benefit from a loan in January and should be among those at the front of the queue to leave. AZ won 2, one in the first leg of the tie, and United needed a goal, otherwise they would crash out of a competition which they earned qualification for by winning a treble last season. Chido Obi Martin was introduced from the bench for the final 10 minutes. Obi Martin and Gabriele Biancheri replaced Wheatley and Jadon Sancho, and the changes represented the last throw of the dice from Adam Lawrence as his side inched close to exiting the Youth League. AZ defended brilliantly throughout the game, and not even Obi Martin could pull the rabbit from the hat. United's best player on the night was Murdoch in between the sticks, and it says a lot when your keeper is your best player. Nonetheless, Lawrence will still be proud of his players. United only qualified for the competition because their U18S were the champions of England last season, and that shouldn't be forgotten because it was a remarkable achievement. Manchester United are reportedly open to selling Marcus Rashford ahead of a potential overhaul under Ruben Amorim. The Telegraph have claimed that United finding a buyer in January for Rashford is remote due to his huge wages. However, it is said that a summer move to Saudi Arabia is an option, while French champions Paris Saint-Germain have also been linked. Rashford has had a mixed season so far, with moments of brilliance intertwined with the odd, poor performance, which has led to heavy criticism in some quarters. The academy graduate's work rate has often been questioned, although the same could be said for several underperformers in United's squad. The 27-year-old has been unfairly singled out on some occasions, with no one player behind United's decade of struggle. However, there are several reasons why selling Rashford may benefit the Reds, with 3 listed below the obvious reason. Due to his homegrown status, his sale would represent pure profit, giving the Reds some flexibility with PSR to improve Amorim's squad next summer. United have squeezed past the league's financial rules to avoid a potential points deduction, so they cannot hope to significantly strengthen their team without big money sales. United have been notoriously bad at selling, but in Rashford, they may have an excellent opportunity to claw in some much-needed cash. Rashford has made a good start under Amorim, but there is still a debate over whether he will fit into the Portuguese's team when he gets the players to suit his system. The academy graduate is not a no-10 or a wing-back, and has never convinced as a striker. United need players who will fully buy into their system. So it would make little sense to stick with someone who doesn't fully fit into what Amorim is trying to do. Is Rashford good enough to help United compete for Premier League and Champions League titles? The jury is still very much out on that one. That's not to say he isn't a fine player on his day, but does he have the overall package and consistency to be a top forward in a team winning the game's biggest prizes? There are too many doubts to prevent him from staying if United are to return to their former glory. Manchester United's famed training ground Carrington has become a hive of activity and innovation as Ruben Amorim unveils a series of tactical adjustments ahead of their crucial match against Victoria Pleasant. The air is thick with anticipation as players old and new adapt to the manager's visionary plans, aiming to translate their training ground chemistry into a dominant display on match day. Ten Hag, known for his meticulous approach, has focused on bolstering United's defensive structure while simultaneously fine-tuning their attacking transitions. Emphasis has been placed on quick ball recoveries, precise passing sequences, and exploiting spaces on the flanks, a strategy aimed at breaking down Victoria Pleasant's defensive resilience. These changes are designed to maximise United's pace and technical superiority. Standout performers in training. The recent sessions at Carrington have highlighted the progress of several key players. Zarkazay, the emerging academy star, has showcased his versatility and composure, earning praise from the coaching staff. His sharp movements and decision-making are poised to surprise opponents. Matthijs de Ligt, a pillar of strength in defence, has brought leadership and tactical awareness to United's backline. His ability to anticipate and neutralise threats is expected to be a key asset. Alejandro Garnacho, the dynamic winger, has been in scintillating form. With his electric pace, pinpoint crossing and eye for goal, he could prove to be the game-changer United needs. Amorim's influence. Now, assistant coach Ruben Amorim has been instrumental in these preparations, bringing his unique tactical insights to complement Ruben Amorim's vision. His focus on situational drills and set-piece strategies has been lauded for its effectiveness in sharpening the team's edge. A squad united. The players are buying into the manager's philosophy, and the camaraderie within the squad is evident. Training sessions have been described as intense yet enjoyable, with a shared sense of purpose driving the team forward. As the countdown to the Victoria Pleasant clash continues, the question on every fan's mind is whether these innovations will translate into another memorable performance. With Carrington buzzing and the squad firing on all cylinders, expectations are high for Manchester United to deliver under the lights. Lisandro Martinez raised his hands in disbelief and slapped the net. Andre Onana stood motionless. The blame for Nottingham Forest's decisive goal on Saturday was shared between the pair. It felt like Martinez was more at fault than his goalkeeper, who had already made a blunder. Manchester United defended terribly against Nottingham Forest, and Martinez passively allowing the ball to slip past him and into the side netting was a huge mistake. Matthijs de Ligt and Andre Onana could probably have done more to stop Chris Wood's looping header at the source, but Martinez's misjudgment was bizarre and indicative of his current form. Martinez hasn't looked the same player this season. He's certainly not the only member of the dressing room who is guilty of underperforming, but his drop-off has been noticeable. Sometimes fans don't want to accept one of their favourite players is struggling, but there seems to be growing concern around Martinez's form and performances this term. Martinez was outstanding in his first season. He made a mockery of pundits' comments about his height, he became an immediate fan favourite, and his defending, along with his ability to pass through the lines to initiate attacks, was a huge asset in a memorable campaign. The problem is that season ended 18 months ago and players are judged on current levels. Rashness has crept into Martinez's game. He has increasingly jumped into tackles and mistimed challenges, and his distribution from the back has worsened, which has impacted build-up play. The data confirms what everybody has been watching. When comparing this season to 2022-23, Martinez averages 2 fewer long passes attempted per 90 minutes and averages more sideways and backwards passes, which shows he's not being as brave when in possession of the ball. Put simply, Martinez's passing isn't as good. The 26-year-old is also not as adventurous, and when you combine that with some of his defending, it paints a picture of an out-of-form player. Martinez has struggled with a few injuries in the last year and a half, and he has failed to reach the levels he showed before picking up a metatarsal injury in the spring of 2023. The best version of Martinez probably hasn't been seen since he picked up that foot issue against Sevilla in the Europa League. There have still been some strong performances from Martinez along the way, but he set a high benchmark in his first year and will be judged against that. United are 13th in the Premier League and are collectively underperforming. There are issues for Ruben Amorim to address, but he needs his most talented players to get back to their best. Martinez is one of the finest defenders in the league when he's at his best, and hopefully he can get back to his previous levels ahead of a challenging, busy winter schedule. United are set to play Manchester City, Tottenham, Newcastle, Liverpool and Arsenal in the next month, and it would make Amorim's life a lot easier if Martinez can start to perform again. Although Martinez is still adored by supporters, you can't live off the success of one season, and he needs to remind critics why fans created a banner for him after just a few months. The butcher needs to sharpen his blade and get back to his best sooner rather than later. Just like the Glazers, Ratcliffe was sung by Manchester United fans 8 days ago. Ratcliffe was the target of vitriolic chanting as supporters protested higher ticket prices before facing Everton, which confirmed his honeymoon period as co-owner was over. There were green and yellow flares set off and anti-Glazer banners raised. Unfortunately, Ratcliffe seems to have more in common with the Glazer family than was initially thought, and it wouldn't be a complete surprise if he took a page from their playbook to replace Dan Ashworth. United waited 4 months for Ashworth to begin work at Old Trafford because he had to serve a period of gardening leave, but he spent just 5 months as the club's sporting director. United released a statement on Sunday and said Dan Ashworth will be leaving his role as sporting director of Manchester United by mutual agreement. We would like to thank Dan for his work and support during a transitional period for the club and wish him well for the future. Club sources have claimed the decision was made collaboratively following a period of transition, but it's thought Ineos instigated the decision to end Ashworth's contract. The decision has been described as very difficult for both parties, and United reiterated Ashworth has conducted himself with integrity and decency throughout his time at the club. Ratcliffe is believed to be recording fly-on-the-wall footage at United with a view to releasing a documentary on the club's rebuild down the line, and it should make for compelling viewing if the circumstances that led to Ashworth's departure are ever brought to light on screen. It seems inevitable any potential documentary would gloss over Ashworth's departure though. The parting of ways is not a good look for Ineos, and it will be fascinating to see whether they appoint a replacement, promote from within, or disseminate Ashworth's former responsibilities. A club source was mute when the search for a successor was mentioned on Sunday morning, and making the correct decision this time after botching Ashworth's appointment is crucial. So who are the names to be aware of? While United search for a successor or decide if they want to hire one, Omar Barada's CEO and Jason Wilcox, technical director, are set to assume more responsibility, and perhaps Christopher Vivell, interim director of recruitment, will be given a permanent role after making a strong impression since being appointed by Ineos in July. Former Chelsea technical director Vivell has a contract until February and will remain in his role until then, with the possibility he then takes up the position on a permanent basis. Ashworth's responsibilities could be absorbed by Barada, Wilcox and Vivell, but it seems more likely a permanent successor will be appointed given Ratcliffe's best in-class mantra. If Ratcliffe promoted someone from within the club or made staff absorb responsibilities, that would be cost-effective and very Glazer-esque. The Glazers promoted Ed Woodward and subsequently Richard Arnold to powerful positions, and they favoured staff they knew. It would be a huge red flag if Ratcliffe adopted the same approach, so hopefully there is due diligence underway and a list of candidates to replace Ashworth has already been made. Paul Mitchell, who is from Greater Manchester, was linked to the job before joining Newcastle, and Dougie Freedman is the bookmaker's favourite. PSG sporting director Luis Campos is also set to be available as there is a rift in Paris, and his contract expires at the end of the season. Ashworth was Ratcliffe's prime target for the inaugural sporting director role, and where the British billionaire turns next remains to be seen, but he cannot make another mistake.